underrepresented in math-intensive fields. Another aspect of the problem relates to the retention of women post-entry into the fields after education. This is especially true in the context of a large number of women researchers who, after having received their doctoral degrees, either don't pursue a career in science or end up taking a break in employment after starting their jobs. There also exists a huge gender disparity when one compares career attainment among male and female scientists in terms of nature and duration of employment contracts, rank, and seniority. And women are also largely unrecognized for their scientific achievements. Research also points to the gender bias beginning early and the effect it has on children's future career choices and interests. STEM fields are often viewed as masculine, and the teachers and parents often underestimate girls' math abilities from kindergarten. This often leads to a confidence gap early on in girls who then become more critical of their skills and hold on to the standards. And usually, with fewer role models, peers, and leaders, women also report experiencing exclusion and isolation in male dominated workspaces. The underrepresentation of women, especially in science and technology sector, makes them especially vulnerable to the risk of being displaced by technology. Considering the importance of technology in future growth and innovation, it is vital that the policies aimed at education and retaining women in the STEM sector may be encouraged. Giving women equal opportunities will not just help narrow the gender pay gap in the field, but also enhance their economic security and well-being in helping the full potential, employ the full potential of the country's skilled female labor force. So this international webinar discussing the gender discourses in STEM is related to or discussing the issues related to the gender discourses mainly from the experiences of women in the field. And let me move on to my duty of offering welcome to the function. First, let me welcome the president of the function, Professor Dr. Ajita, Director, Women Studies Center. CUSAT is a thought leader who has been guiding the Women Studies Center to newer heights for the past 3 years. Her unstinted enthusiasm is a motivating force behind the present international webinar. I welcome Ajita ma'am to the function. Next, I would like to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madhusudanan sir. He has been encouraging any activity that would uplift the spirits of the women folk of the university. Hope that the Women Studies Center has been able to add some of the women-based activities in the campus that would be important improvement or that will be bringing laurels to the university in rankings and accreditation. Today, we have the Honorable Vice Chancellor inaugurating the function, and I welcome you, sir, to the program on behalf of the Women Studies Center. Dr. V. Meera, Registrar of CUSAT, is present over here for offering felicitations for the function. She has been spearheading the women workforce in the university. She takes ardent interest in promoting the activities of women, and I welcome you, ma'am, to today's function. And we have 2 organizations associating with the program. The CUSAT Women Welfare Organization and the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. And I welcome Dr. E.N. Sajjad, Regional Director, IGNCA, for offering felicitations for the program. I also welcome Dr. Sailaja, President, Cochin University Women's Welfare Association, who is offering felicitations for the webinar. And also, I would also welcome Dr. P.G. Leda, the former director, Jawaharlal Nehru Tropical Botanical Garden and Research Institute, Trivandrum, will be offering the keynote address. And as a matter of formality, I would welcome the co-conveners of the webinar, Dr. Chinchu and Ashwati, to the program. And last but not the least, all participants on board from in and out of CUSAT are also welcome. Hope you will be traversing the journey with us these 2 days. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sangeeta teacher, for that. We move on to the presidential address. So, the participants who are newly joining, please make sure that your mics are muted. It happens. I welcome Dr. Ajita, who is Dean of Faculty of Humanities and a syndicate member, and the Director of Women's Studies Center, for offering the presidential address. Over to you, Ajita teacher.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of Cochin University of Science and Technology, Dr. K.N. Madhusudanan. Respected Dr. P.G. Lata, today's keynote speaker. Registrar Dr. Neera B., Dr. E.N. Sajit, Dr. Shailija, Dr. Sangeeta K. Pratap, Dr. Devi Soumija, Dr. Chinchu, faculty members, and my dear students. Good morning to all. Across the globe, we are celebrating International Women's Day today with a theme, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. We know that empowering women is very necessary for bringing gender equality. Only those societies will flourish well where women are given equal opportunities and respect. Considering this, each and every year, Women's Studies Center of Cochin University of Science and Technology celebrates this day by organizing seminars and other activities to discuss various issues related to women, which is meant to empower women. Today also, we have organized a webinar on the topic Gendered Discourse in STEM. India has a peculiar problem in terms of participation of women and members of the gender and sexual minorities in the specialized workforces such as the STEM field. Matriculation to the doctoral level and entry to the workforce, we can see a gradual exclusion of women, which ultimately results in denied opportunities and underutilized human potential, not to mention the injustice of exclusion. An ecosystem of delegating care work to women and preferring men for jobs that involve sophistication is rampant in our society. The patriarchal system that we have been following is responsible for this, at least in part. Concentrated efforts from all sides, including governments, think tanks, and institutions, are needed to tackle the challenge of underrepresentation and denied opportunities in the STEM field. Taking a cue from the global and national movements, the Women's Studies Center of Cochin University of Science and Technology has recently engaged in academic activities related to the gender question in the STEM field. We have prepared project proposals and worked with government agencies, including the Department of Science and Technology, towards this end. This international webinar, being organized around the general theme of gender and STEM, is one more step in this direction, where we have assembled a spectrum of expert-level discussions ranging from the experiences of women scientists in the most advanced laboratories of the world to the experiences of LGBTQ scientists in Indian STEM ecosystem, We also discussed topics like intricacies of diversity, challenges faced by women entrepreneurs in STEM, along with presentation of selected papers. Through this international webinar, we hope to contribute substantially towards improving the STEM ecosystem for women and members of gender and sexual minorities. I conclude with the words of Dr. May Jamison, an engineer at NASA astronaut, who was the first African American to travel in space. Never limit yourself because of their limited imaginations. Never limit others because of your own limited imagination. With these words, I conclude. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Ajita teacher, for delivering the presidential address. We are almost, on time in the schedule. Right now, we have the inaugural address for the international webinar, which is going to be delivered by the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.N. Madhuvan, sir. We welcome you, sir, for the inaugural address.
Professor Ajita, Dean, Faculty of Humanities, Director, Human Studies Center, Dr. Sangeeta Pratap, Dr. V. Meera, Registrar, Dr. Ian Sajid, Regional Director, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, and other colleagues, participants of the webinar. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to participate at the inaugural session of international webinar on gender and STEM, organized by our Women's Studies Center in collaboration with various other organizations. I think this is the most important and the right topic to be taken up at this moment when we observe this Women's Day on 8th of March, especially in a university like Cochin University of Science and Technology, which mainly focuses on science, technology, engineering, and so on. Of course, as has been mentioned, the participation of women in STEM subject is not as encouraging as that of their counterparts. But there are many reasons, probably. When we look at the enrollment, we find a large number of participation in like bioscience, life science, and so on, but not that high in the so-called hard science, physics, mathematics, and so on. But of course, if you look at globally also, this is no different. Even in engineering, if you look at, we have computer science, IT, and all where women participation is high. But if you look at mechanical engineering, traditionally, the enrollment of women in the mechanical engineering is very, very poor. I don't know why this kind of situation. Because one, if I recall my interaction with the parents and various other components of the society, I'd say there are a lot of misconceptions about doing science, or so-called hard science, I can say, from the family side and by and large from the society. That misconceptions has to be addressed, because there is no point in sidelining something, because now everything is done by computer. If you take a mechanical engineering, people say you have to deal with the big machines and all, girls cannot do that. It's totally wrong concept, which I don't know how this concept has come in. But if you look at now everything is done on computer. You don't need to deal with big machine physically to start with. There are situations where you have to deal with it, but most of the time you don't need to. You do everything on computer. So misconceptions has to be, addressed. So there are a lot of studies required, and to elevate this kind of, that is ingrained in our society. So then only we can move forward. There are a lot of issues, with regard to the participation of women folk in STEM. And those misconceptions we have to remove. We have to find the real reasons for this and work at the grassroots level to address these issues. Of course, retention of those who are coming to STEM, that is also a big issue, because especially in our kind of society, because women, of course, need to do a lot of other role you have to play in the family and societies, which are not being shared properly by men folk. I must confess myself as part of that. There is no hesitation in doing that. You have to address these issues, to support adequate support to women, and especially working women, or to create an environment for women to work and advance their career, along with the support from their partners for other activities. The conventional role have to be shared by everyone, so that women folk can concentrate more on their creative work. Of course, the Women Studies Center, I'm sure, will take up some of these issues and make meaningful studies and come up with proper recommendations. Of course, in our kind of society, it's not easy to change everything overnight. It needs time, but we can visibly see the changes that is happening also. It is not that we are not changing. We are changing, but we need to, pace it up a little more to address all these issues and have more women in science, engineering, mathematics, technology, and so on. Of course, this is not limited to STEM now. Globally, it is now STEAM. Art is also involved in that. AI is also incorporated in STEM. So it is STEAM now, because art is also more like mathematical and scientific nowadays. Of course, you have your creative mind, but that is also created on computers and so on. We have for digital art and so many other areas which are coming, which has a linkage between science, technology, engineering, and various art forms. So all these, there are immense opportunities, and women folk need to be there, and we need to handhold them and accept them in our scientific community in a much better way. Of course, Cochin University of Science and Technology, as we know, is a much better place, as you can see. In our science, engineering, and technology, various departments, you can see a large number of female faculty members, and most of our PG students are female students. So we give ample opportunities for women and girls to study and work. We need to take this message also outside what we are doing here, and what is our strength in giving better opportunities for girls and women in in their chosen area, especially in science and technology. So I think we can do a lot of things, especially our Women Studies Center, to address, to study all these different aspects, as well as taking the message which we have built in here to our outside world also. So this is a very, very important topic which we are discussing. I'm sure we will have a very good recommendation of this out of this seminar, which can be subjected to further studies. Wish you all the very best. With these few words, I declare this program inaugurated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. In fact, the mandate of Women's Studies Center itself involves and plans for further programs in the same direction, in which now DST is also giving a lot of focus on the topic of gender and STEM. Thank you for setting the stage for the program and inaugurating the function. Now we have felicitations. Maybe call upon Dr. Meera, who has been a well-wisher and a supporter of all the programs of Women's Studies Center, to offer her words of felicitation. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good morning to all of you gathered here. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. K. N. Madhusudanan, Dr. K. Ajita, Chairperson of Women's Studies Center, and Dean, Faculty of Humanities, Dr. Sangeeta, Dr. E. N. Sajid, Regional Director, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, and other distinguished guests, esteemed faculty members, staff, and dear students. Let me first of all wish all the men and women gathered out here a very special and delightful International Women's Day. And I also believe that men should also celebrate, not only women, men should also celebrate Women's Day, because without a woman, no man is complete. I hope you all agree with me. And today, in this on this splendid occasion, we just had the formal inauguration of the 2-day international webinar on gendered discourses in STEM by our Honorable Vice Chancellor. And this is being jointly organized by the Women's Studies Center of Cochin University of Science and Technology, then Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization, and the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. Actually, I find today's topic very interesting, because it is something which is very relatable to any woman pursuing career in science, technology, environment, and mathematics. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, India doesn't have to, or don't have the need to, attract girls to this STEM courses. They normally come and they normally excel. But what is observed at the end is that there is a very few number of women which stay or remain as achievers in the STEM career. And I think, as our Honorable Vice Chancellor has pointed out, there are certain obstacles which causes or lead to this precipitous fall in the number of women in this sector. And these obstacles, as he has again pointed out, may be due to the the conventional societal bias existing in our society, or maybe due to certain invisible gender biases, actually, or due to certain the obstacles are due to the very stringent policies in the workplaces, or due to the hectic schedule, time schedule, which will make them very hard to balance the work and the career, and they drop in between. So what is actually required is the a change in the mindset, and a change in the the societal norms, which is already existing. And these norms actually will lead to it's actually this will again lead to a sudden I can say that, in other words, we should adopt certain inclusive policy. that women are included in this sector. And actually, there is a certain welcome approaches or to ensure that this DST and DBT is already taking up certain measures to include women also, to allow women to come back after a long break. And giving women opportunities into this, especially in the STEM field, will not only enhance the, what is called the economic freedom, but also what you call the economic freedom, and thereby the what you call a talented workforce, which is actually the need of the hour, because ours is a knowledge society. So we will get a diversified and talented society to work with and to have a better development. And as Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate, says, India should focus on the women because the development of our nation rests on the empowerment of women. So what actually we can do is to, is to change our mindset so that we can tap the potential by including women along with men in the sectors of STEM and the STEM fields. So with this note, let me conclude. And I also take this opportunity to congratulate the entire team behind for organizing such a wonderful seminar. And I wish all the very best and hope that you'll all have very fruitful time ahead and have a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for those encouraging words, Dr. Meera ma'am. Now we have Dr. Ian Sajid, who is the Regional Director of Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, which is a premier organization under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. INCAE is a co-organizer of this program. Over to you, sir.
A very good morning to all. Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. K.N. Madhusudanan, Registrar Dr. Meera V, Dr. K. Ajita, Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Director of Women's Studies Center, CUSAT, other scholars, members of the faculty, students, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, which is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, is extremely glad to be a part of this international webinar, which is happening on the International Women's Day. The topic, actually, we are quite alien to this, I thought like that, to the science and technology. But then I was going through the activities of our own ministry, and I found we have a National Council of Science Museum in Calcutta. We are running innovation hubs in various parts of the country. There are 2 already in Kerala under Regional Science Center and Regional Science Center in Calicut and Trivandrum. One more is coming up in Chalakudi. We thought we should also be definitely a part of this organization, this international webinar. And I was just trying to understand what is STEM and what is exactly the meaning of the word STEM. Then by Googling, when I was Googling, I realized in US, the total, out of the total workforce, 47% are women. And out of that 47, 24% 24% is working in the area of STEM. Coming to England, it is 13%. We basically, our organization is based on working on art and culture. In our field, maybe the women force is more than men, but when we come to the actual working of the areas like performance or payment, I don't think even now we are considering the women equal to the other, equal to the men. Today morning, I was listening to an interview on the TV where this very subject of equality for women was being discussed. And also the same thing was telling maybe our workforce is now more. Women are coming to various fields of work more, including army. But of course, in government, there is no bifurcation between women and men when the payment part is coming. Otherwise, I think in every field, women are discriminated. But institutions like educational institutions, primarily educational institutions, will be able to overcome this still continuing problem in the society. I'm very happy that the premier education institution in Kerala in the field of science and technology, CUSAT, is organizing this webinar and have taken up this right topic for discussion today. And I conclude my speech wishing the very best for the webinar for the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Dr. Sajid. In fact, uh, this whole integration of academic fields for addressing specific issues in each areas are a need of the hour, on which we are also trying to contribute our part. For the next felicitation, we have Dr. Sairaja GS, who's a professor at the Department of Polymer Science and Biotechnology. And Sairaja is also the president of Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization. For those who need an introduction to CUWO, which is the short form for Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization, it has been a very active participant, in all the activities of the Women's Studies Center. CUWO has taken up a number of activities, premiering activities inside the university and even outside the university. Even today we have, after, in the afternoon hours, we have a physical program being conducted by the organization in connection with International Women's Day. And, I request Dr. Sairaja to offer the felicitation address. Over to you, ma'am.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of KSAT, Professor K.N. Madhusudanan sir, respected Registrar and Dr. V. Meera, keynote speaker of today's webinar, Dr. P.G. Lata, Professor Ajida, Director, Women's Science, Women's Studies Center and Dean Humanities, and Dr. Sajid, Dr. Sangeeta, dear colleagues and friends. First of all, I would like to wish you a very happy Women's Day. Most of the previous speakers have actually pointed out the relevance of adding up the number or percentage of women in STEM. It is a fact that there is underrepresentation of women in STEM, especially in countries like us, and definitely laws need to be changed. But for the law to change, there should be a demand. That's what I think. Within the limited time, I just would like to point out just two aspects as per my perspective, because the challenges as well as powerful solutions related to this problem will be definitely shared and enlighten us with eminent speakers of the webinar. We have very eminent resource people as part of this webinar. So being a person in science, in fact, I have never faced any gender related issues. I do not know about the future, but so far I have never faced any gender related issues. But at the same time, I'm very much aware that there is such a problem, and many of my colleagues also face some problem. So there is a huge demand for women in STEM because women are talented person very good resourceful persons, and most of the time the talent is actually hidden. So what can we do by ourselves to bring out the talent so that many of the needy people will be useful with that talent? So I believe the power is in us. We have to empower ourselves. There definitely obstacles are there, challenges are there, but it is our responsibility to address the challenge. But I believe in addressing the challenge not aggressively, but the challenges are to be met keeping a harmony, keeping the content around us. So that will give us a positive energy, share us a positive energy, and we have to address each of the problem with that content. So how can we address such big problems with a calm mind? It is not that easy. So we have to enrich ourselves with knowledge. Knowledge is the biggest power, I believe. So we have to enrich ourselves with knowledge, not only professional, but also for personal growth, and then so that we can enunciate such changes, what we want to see in society. So as the famous poet said, Kumaran Ashan said, "Matuvin chattangale ennu paranjathu." So that means rules will change only if there is a strong demand. So we have to act as pillars for creating that need in everyone's mind, in law, in society. So that is what I personally believe. So it is in our hand, I mean, in women's hand, to help ourselves to come in the forefront and being the great resource persons in all the fields. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sailaja. We have the keynote address of this inaugural session coming up, which is being delivered by Dr. P.G. Lata, who is a former director of the Jawaharlal Nehru Tropical Botanic Garden and Research Institute, which is an institution under the Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment. Dr. Lata was the director of JNT-BGRI from 2011 to 2016, and she is a very accomplished researcher in her area. And on behalf of the Women's Studies Center and IGNCA and WHO, we welcome you to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, ma'am. Your mic is muted, ma'am. No, you'll have to unmute the mic. No, your mic is on mute. It will be on the left, bottom corner of the screen. Yes, yeah, you're unmuted now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to this seminar on women and STEM. Actually, I'm in Trivandrum. I'm at my home in Trivandrum, and I was asked to deliver this lecture just a few days back. So I'm very happy that I'm able to deliver this lecture today before such an august audience. My topic is women in STEM, opportunities and challenges. As you may know, the status of women in any civilization shows the stage of evolution at which the civilization stands. It is the need of the hour to stress the crucial role of women in science and technology for the social and economic transformation of the state and the country. Because 50% of our population is women, so only if women also play an equal role can the social and economic transformation of a state and country take place. And generally, very high level of scientific research and innovation, it is done by the people and it is not by the gender. So the people, inclusive of women, they all take part in research activities. And so it is not by gender. Sadly, it is a fact that the number of female scientists and girl students choosing science, choosing STEM as a career is relatively low compared to arts subjects. Many of them, after getting a graduate or a postgraduate degree, they would all like to get married and settle down. So the number of girls and also the number of women taking up a career in STEM, it is very relatively low. This is in spite of the innumerable opportunities that the government of Kerala is giving to improve the number of girls and women in science and in STEM for them to pursue a scientific career. Gender equality, therefore, is not only good for women scientists, but good for science in general. So only if there is women and an equal amount of women scientists compared to the men scientists, only if it is equal can science perform in a very good way. Now, what difference does the gender make? In the case of women in STEM, what difference does the gender make? We know that nations worldwide are placing a great deal of pressure on the scientific community to pursue research agenda with direct impact on its critical social and economic needs. Because our country needs scientists to look after its technological improvements, its scientific improvements and all that. And by and large, most of the activities of women scientists, they are in the field of agriculture and medicine, then life sciences and environmental sciences. This is where, as of now, women are performing very well. So women will play a very major role in addressing the challenges in these fields. That is agriculture, medicine, life sciences, and environmental sciences. I think as far as mathematics is concerned, it is much less the number of women in that area. Majority of the Nobel Prize winners by women scientists are in the area of life sciences. That is also another fact. So that also shows that more and more women scientists prefer that area. However, till date, the role of women in global sciences, to a great extent, it is very modest. The performance, the role that women play in global science, it is very modest role. In the developing world, it is home to about 80% of the world's population, but only to 20% of the world's scientists, of which less than 5% are women. That is, I'm speaking of the developing world, countries like ours. Now, you know that how women were given a very significantly important place in our society historically. And women contributed in a large measure to the economic and social well-being of the family in those days, in olden days. Now we know that science and technology is emerging as fundamental tools in the developmental process. We cannot do without science and technology. So women also have to play an active role in these areas. They cannot remain unskilled. They cannot remain unskilled in areas of science, technology, engineering and medicinal areas, mathematics, etc. For sustainable development of the nation, women have to play a very prominent role, and they have to increase their technological skills and knowledge. Many studies have shown that women work better in groups, better than men. Women are able to work better in a group, and they are more likely or willingly they will share the information, scientific information that they have got. They are more willing to share than their male counterparts. And also, they will not take complete credit for the work of the group. Definitely, it will be given to each and every member in the group. These are scientific studies have shown this. Excuse me. Women have a tendency to view the world in a holistic manner. And therefore, they feel interdependent. They feel dependent on the other members of the group also. So that is why for all types of group activity, women are better than men. These are scientific studies have shown this. So I could say that they create bridges. Women create bridges rather than walls or empires. Now, these qualities of women, will they favor a leadership role for women in STEM? Yes, as science, as STEM becomes more and more global, it will tend to become more feminine. In the future, I'm sure more and more women, more and more girls will come into a STEM career, and it will become more global. Women scientists have to break the barriers that have held them back in the past. In the past, we were supposed to look after the home, look after their children. These barriers have to be broken, and they have to come into a field of science, the field of STEM, for that matter. Now, what are the most compelling barriers? One of the most important barrier is the lack of role models for younger women in STEM. As we go up the ladder, there are very few women who go up the ladder and reach the top compared to those in Western countries. So for the younger generation of us, women scientists, or a younger generation of the STEM students, they don't have a role model to look upon. That is a very important barrier for women, young women coming into these areas. Then gender stereotyping by the society. The society has a tendency to look down upon us. Oh, she's a woman, she cannot do that, she cannot do this. That type of gender stereotyping is also one barrier for women to come up in this STEM areas. Some people have, in olden days, people thought that women cannot do mathematics, women cannot do engineering, women cannot pursue a science career. It was actually meant for the men. That was what it was thought formerly, but now it is not the case. Women are coming into more and more challenging areas. Women have already gone into space, our dear Kalpana Chawla, though at this point we have to remember her. And also women were supposed to marry very early and assume the prime responsibility of raising children in the home. That was also one of the barriers, because very few, in those days, few women were allowed to pursue a scientific career and go up high up into the ladder and reach the top. Besides, in the developing countries, women scientists, they sometimes faced lack of funding. In India, I would not say that in India, we have plenty of funding just waiting for it to be tapped. But in other developing countries, sometimes there was a lack of funding. And then the employment opportunities were scarce in some countries. And also there was absence of social security systems like health, insurance, and family benefits for women to pursue a career in STEM. Now, other problems faced by women scientists are, though we constitute half of humanity, even in countries having access to higher education, the number of women studying mathematics, physics, and engineering remain far below that of men. That is one problem. women opt for the other areas that I told you about. They shy away from mathematics, sometimes physics, and even engineering. In addition, meritorious women are often turned down from highly skilled, well-paid jobs in science and technology on small pretenses. Sometimes they're deliberately turned down from these areas. That is another barrier. The few who succeed in coming to the top, they are sometimes marginalized and isolated, might be by their colleagues, might be by the establishment itself. So all these are barriers for women to pursue a STEM career. As a result, overall participation of women in science and technology continues to be limited, except in educational institutions. Of course, in schools and colleges, women they have a higher percentage of women working in schools and colleges, educational institutions up to the postgraduate level, even in the universities. But beyond that, in scientific research institutes, if you take the number of men and women, it will definitely be lower. Sometimes professional women, even when they reach the highest position, they get sidelined by their male counterparts. That is also there. Deliberately, they will get sidelined. As the director of the botanical garden, I have never felt, throughout my whole career, I have not felt such type of sidelining. We have to work along with them, and we have to give them the feeling that we are equal to them in our career. Might be physically we are not equal to them, physical strength-wise we are not equal to them, but in all other areas of activity we are equal to them. You have to give them that feeling in a very nice way. It should not be quarrelsome. It should not. It has to be instilled in them gently. Then they will accept you. Now, our former president, our beloved late APJ Abdul Kalam, himself a distinguished scientist, he had emphasized the need to encourage increased participation of women in STEM for the overall empowerment of women in our society. Countries that have made remarkable economic and social progress have done this by empowering women. Madam Sonia Gandhi, in her tribute to the late lady astronaut Kalpana Chawla, said, "She was an Indian who demonstrated what women were capable of. We thank her for giving us belief, faith, and pride." At NASA, USA, 1/4 of the astronauts are women. That is in the case of United States. At NASA, 1/4 of the astronauts are women, and 1/5 of the women are scientists and engineers. In India too, there are women scientists who stand shoulder to shoulder with their male counterparts. But in some cases, very few cases, they are a little higher. That also is there in our country, you know. Sometimes at the topmost level, sometimes a lady may be occupying that position. That is there in our country too. We should remember this point. Remember the late Dr. E.K. Janaki Ammal, you know, she was a Malayali from Tellicherry, from the north of Kerala. She was one of the famous cytogeneticists in the world. And also she was responsible for formation of the CSIR and also the Botanical Survey of India. It had its beginning under her. We all know about Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw also, who was the Indian biotech icon and one of India's richest women. Tessie Thomas, of course, our missile woman, we can never forget her. She walked the tightrope as a scientist and homemaker, and she's also known as a missile woman. So what is the road ahead? How can we attract more and more girls, more and more women into this field? Gender equality, it has to be formally achieved in a very gentle way. It has to be achieved. It must be conquered peacefully. We have to change the mindset. The people of our country, they have to change their mindset to accept women as they are, to accept women as equal to men in all areas except might be physically. A significant step the country has taken to enable women to take up a career in science is providing flexible conditions for employment. We have flexible conditions of employment also in some areas, and we need to create conditions for increasing the number of women scientists in positions of excellence and leadership. There are a lot of women scientists, women pursuing STEM careers, but very few at the top. That has to change. More and more people have to reach the topmost strata so that they can inspire the younger women to come up to the top. So, and they will become role models. Madam Indira Gandhi, one of the most illustrious of our leaders, she has remarked, women should feel free to be herself, not in rivalry to men, but in the context of their own capacity, and they should be more interested and more active in the affairs of society, not because they are women, but because they comprise half of the human race. That's what Madam Indira Gandhi had to say about women working. Another important factor is that women are capable of multitasking. You know, we can do so many things at a time. We can run the home, we can look after our family, children. At the same time, we can pursue our career. When we leave home, we leave all the problems at home behind. And when you go to the office, when you go to the laboratory, things in the laboratory only occupy your mind. You can keep your mind free of everything else. And only when you come back home, the problems at the home front will again come to your mind. So that is multitasking. Multitasking is a very important feature which women have more than men. So that also will help us a lot in pursuance of a career in STEM. We may have heard of some of our some of our very senior Indian women who have pursued a STEM career, like Dr. Anandibai Joshi. She was the first Indian woman doctor qualified to practice Western medicine. Of course, I told you about Dr. E.K. Janaki Ammal. She's a Malayali. She was one of the world's famous cytogeneticists. Then there is Dr. Kamala Sohani. She was the first woman scientist to get a PhD in scientific discipline. She was a student of Dr. C.V. Raman. Of course, then there is Dr. Anna Mani. She was a famous Indian physicist, again a Malayali, a famous Indian physicist, and she made significant contributions in the field of meteorological instrumentation. These are all women who worked very hard in those far away, distant times, and who came up to the top in their careers. Dr. Ashima Chatterjee, she was an Indian chemist and had made significant contributions in the field of phytochemistry, plant chemistry. Dr. Rajeshwari Chatterjee, the first woman chief engineer from Karnataka, and she specialized in the field of microwave engineering. Dr. Darshana Ranganathan, again an organic chemist, she did pioneering work in protein folding. Dr. Maharani Chakrabarti, she's a molecular biologist who worked on recombinant DNA techniques. Long ago, she was born in 1937 and she passed away in 2015. Then there was Dr. Charusida Chakrabarti, professor of chemistry at IIT Delhi. Dr. Mangala Narlikar, she was one of the few mathematical researchers in India. She married, put household responsibilities before her career, and then she pursued a scientific career and became one of the top mathematicians of our country. Then there was Dr. Indira Hinduja. She facilitated the delivery of India's first test tube baby. See how with very little facilities, all these great women of our country, how they worked hard and became the topmost people in their professions. Now, in the case of India and her women scientists, Indian science has been keen to ensure women scientists' participation. That is there. Indian science, India, from very early times, India realized the importance of women pursuing a STEM career. Government of India has exclusive schemes for addressing the needs of women, particularly the rural women through S&T outputs. Water, sanitation, education, energy, and health are the other areas that directly concern women. These are the areas that women can work in the future. The Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, has pioneered gender enabling measures to increase the share of women in science and technology research after a career break. That is a very important thing. Some women will have to take a career break, might be to raise a family, to bring up the little children. But after the career break, she can rejoin and continue her career and reach the top. So Ministry of DST and DBT, they all have programs for mid-career break women scientists. And DBT, the Women Scientists Fellowship of DBT, has been designed with a gender-specific perspective for women scientists with a break in career. They are under 3 categories. One is, the first of them is in the basic and applied sciences. Second is in science and technology-based empowerment at the grassroots level. And the third one, training in patent searches. That's a flexible approach, work from home. That is work from home. So these are the areas which DBT is offering to break in career women scientists. So Indian women are now at the forefront of all fields of activity. They are in space, they are in healthcare, public service, the armed forces, administration, commercial pilots, etc. The only place that we may not see women are in the beverage corporation queues. The number of women studying science in India is increasing day by day. However, the percentage of women pursuing career in STEM is low compared to the number of postgraduates in science. So there is a dropping of girls, young girls. After post-graduation, they just drop out from the science field. That has to be corrected. And this is due to the break in career. This may be due to marriage and child raising and all that. So that at that time, these girls have to be protected so that they can be given a mid-career break and they can rejoin. So that is very important. In India, this is a very important fact that we have to consider. For this, Government of India is offering many measures like the maximum age limit of 50 years for women to come back to career. The maximum age is 50 years. So up to 50 years, you can rejoin after the break in career. Then there are sensitizing workshops they conduct for such types of women who have break in career. And then there will be provision of part-time job so that they can work from home. And if a girl is on a fellowship, if she has a mid-career break and if she's on a fellowship, she can relocate to a new place with the fellowship. The fellowship will be transferred to the new place. So all these are measures the Government of India has taken to attract such women back to the science career. The Indian National Science Academy Task Force for Women in STEM observed the lower percentage of women moving from graduation to post-graduation in science. That I already told you. Sometimes at the graduate level, they go away, or sometimes at the postgraduate level, they go away. That has to be corrected. We have to keep, the government has to do something to hold them back from going away. So, INSA report states that the women qualifying for STEM take up either teaching jobs or faculty positions in the university. As I already told you, in the teaching career, women do excellently. So they would like to have a teacher's job because it is a less responsible position. She can have a lot of time to her home. So they may not want to be scientists because it may involve round the clock being in a laboratory, so the home front will suffer. So that type of what shall I say? That type of a passion for science, passion for STEM has to be developed in these women scientists, so that they will not go away from the laboratories. They will come back, or not only teaching, but working as a researcher as well. Now, for this, to hold the women back, to bring them back into their career after the mid-break, we can relax their age again beyond the present 5 years, beyond the present 50 years. And all the tenured posts, all the posts kept for women, reserved for women, should be always filled in. So in so many cases, there are posts which are not filled due to non-availability of the women scientists or women pursuing STEM. Then in all research institutes, gender auditing has to be done. And if the number of women are less, measures should be taken to fill up at least 50% of the posts should be filled up by women in STEM. And also in all the selection committees, it is very important that a woman be in that is already there in all selection committees. Women is mandatory. The role of a woman is mandatory in all selection committees. Then provision of part-time jobs. Sometimes they can be encouraged to take up a part-time job so that they can look at the home, and also their career can be continued. And then flexible time scale, that flexible times. If she wants to work in the evening, she can go to the laboratory and work in the evening. Daytime, she can spend looking after her children. Then scholarship programs for girls from poor families that can be provided, so that that will attract children, that will attract girls from poor families to take up a career in STEM. Then it would be nice to have a directory of women working in STEM and with their resumes, so that on an interactive website, so that young girls can look into these and be encouraged to take up a career like their senior fellow scientists. Then there could be special science parks created for the ladies working in STEM areas, so that that also is an incentive. That's also an incentive for them to visit the science park and get encouraged to take up a career in STEM. And what are the steps to reduce stress on women scientists and students? Provision in all the institutes. It could be provided with a well-run creche in all institutions. Creche means for little children, so that if she has a small child, she can bring the baby to the creche and put her there. She'll have the confidence that the baby will be looked after well, rather than keeping the baby with a domestic servant at home. Then provision of women's room and toilets in all research institutes, women's restroom and women's toilets in all the research institutes, or in all institutes where women in STEM are working. Then definitely the grievance cell for gender-related and sexual offenses is already there in all the institutes. And of course, mid-career breaks can be encouraged. Girls with mid-career breaks can be encouraged to go forward. Provision of campus housing. Now, if the quarters is very close to the institute, the lady, after looking at, she can go to the lab, might be just cycle up to the lab in the evening or in the night and come back. If it is within the same institute, it would be safer. There would be security guards around, so there would not be anything to worry. So a provision of housing close to the research institutes, that would be a very nice thing to encourage women. Now, however, there is a word of caution that I should make here is, however empowered the woman becomes, it is imperative that she does not forego her innate feminine qualities. Her innate feminine qualities like the sweetness in her behavior to others, her humility, her compassion, her soothing and pleasing conversation style, her attitude for caring for her family and others, her capacity for hard work, her modest dress sense. These are very important for women and pursuing a career in STEM. If these qualities are lost in her, she ceases to become a complete woman. These are the words of the late Srimati Lakshmi N. Menon, who was one of the greatest administrators of our country, who worked tirelessly for the cause of women, but at the same time was the personification of the ultimate female grace of the Indian woman. I would dare to say that if this is not followed, she would become like the clownish feminist who tries to visit Shabarimala and descends after an unsuccessful attempt. Even with such grace that Indian woman has, Indian women, they have held their head high like the courageous Rani of Jhansi of Rajasthan or the brave Sultana Razia of Delhi. Indian women have always been held high since time immemorial, but somewhere along the revolving wheel of life, she ceased to be respected and became merely an object of childbearing and rearing. That has to be corrected. That is, of course, that is happening in our country. By all means, we are steadily progressing in increasing the number of women in STEM. This condition can only be reverted by becoming empowered with education, job, and therefore economic freedom for women. In my opinion, one of these ways in which she can become empowered is by studying STEM and practicing STEM. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for those words. It was a well thought out presidential keynote address, even though we did not give you much time to prepare. And some of the measures that have been mentioned in your speech,
Yes.
such as a daycare center for working women. We are proud to say that the Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization had initiated such an initiative in the university, and we now have a daycare center in the university.
Okay.
Working.
That's very good. That is very good. Scientists can feel relaxed that their children will be well looked after.
And thank you, Dr. Leda Madam, for disseminating so much hope and positivity with your thoughts you shared with us.
Okay.
Usually on occasions like these, people talk about the to-do list and the darker side of the scenario where usually a pathetic picture of women gets portrayed. But you pointed out that women are much better because they are not in the beverage queues in the evenings.
Yes.
And we need to uphold to our feminine part, by quoting Lakshmi in Menon.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your pleasant words, and we wish you a happy Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. May God bless you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Chinju, postdoctoral fellow at Women's Studies Center of Cochin University of Science and Technology, is studying the involvement of women in local governance and psychological empowerment. He is also a visiting faculty with the National University of Advanced Legal Studies and Indira Gandhi National Open University. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Chinju to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, Ashwati, I got logged out suddenly.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had asked me to propose a vote of thanks?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, everyone, there was a slight technical glitch at the side. We have just heard a very insightful, keynote address by Dr. P.G. Lata, and we are coming to the end of the inaugural session of our today international webinar. Let me also announce that we have some very stimulating conversations coming up, in the next sessions. Since these are working days, for the next session we have scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Today, where Dr. Dari Davis will be talking about the Strickland effect in STEM. And some of us may know Dora Strickland, who is who was a very popular scientist and Nobel Prize winner. So Dr. Dari will be talking about the Strickland effect in STEM. And tomorrow also we have around 4 interesting addresses, all designed around the central theme of gender and STEM, in which we have designed this program. So let me propose a vote of thanks for this inaugural session. I thank Dr. Ajita, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and the Director of Women's Studies Center, for proposing the presidential address and for being the inspiration and the leader. Yes, not just an inspiration. She has been, the active, organizer for this program. I thank Dr. Ajita for the sake of this official formality. I thank Dr. K.N. Madhusudanan sir, who is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the university and the patron of the event, for inaugurating the webinar. I thank Dr. Meera, who is the Honorable Registrar of the University, Dr. Sajid, who is the Regional Director of Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, and Dr. Saileja, who is a professor of the university and also the president of Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization, for giving the felicitatory addresses. We had Dr. Sangeeta Pratap, who is the main convener of this today webinar. She also proposed a welcome address for this program. She has been very active in her role as the advisory member and a major organizer of this program. I thank her for her participation. We have had Dr. Devi Saumija, who is who is another advisor of this the Women's Studies Center and a constant inspiration. She is right now doing her fellowship under the Nehru Fulbright Fellowship Program in the US. And it's in fact night time at their time, and she has been there. She was there with us in the program. I thank her. We have had various other faculty members and advisors of and well-wishers of the Women's Studies Center there participating in the program. I also thank the 2 organizations who have been co-organizers of this program, the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts and the Cochin University Women's Welfare Organization, for their organizational support which have been given for this program. And I also thank once again Dr. P.G. Lata, the former director of Jawaharlal Nehru Tropical Botanical Garden and Research Institute, for preparing such a well thought out keynote address at such short notice and delivering it with the with the power that is intended for such a program. And once again, I thank the university and all those the participants who have been there. Yeah, we started earlier than the normal convention of 10 a.m. We started at around 9:30, and within 5 minutes we had very good participation of more than 50 people. And most of them are students of the university. I thank all the participants also for being there. And I hope that I had posted in the chat box, the details of the next session, which is coming up at 6:30. I hope that all of us can be there in the next session, and also for the sessions that are going to happen tomorrow. Thank you all for the patient listening and the participation.